Welcome, everybody, to Brinkley Gym here for tonight's Coaches Show. Tonight we're coming to you live from the gym right here in the foyer outside the gym area. Got a good lineup tonight of guest speakers and also some player interviews. We have a great show. We're going to dive deep into the season, Coach, and also let you bring us up to speed on this past week. It's been a busy one for Storm Athletics. We'll get into that in just a second. But a reminder to everybody listening on YouTube or Facebook, if you have questions for Coach, please put those in there. I'll be watching the comments throughout the show tonight, and we'll definitely get back to those. So, Coach, why don't you open us up with some comments, and we'll get it going.
Well, I first want to thank you, Dan, for joining us tonight. Obviously, Miles couldn't be here. He's in Florida enjoying family time, seeing Mickey down there at Florida at Disney World. But you know, it's been a busy week for Storm Athletics. Like you said, our volleyball team wrapped up an incredible season. They finished 23-6, which is the most wins in the history of our volleyball program since we moved to D2. One game short of making the championship game. Went 5 sets with Cape Fear. Tough loss for the ladies, and, of course, Coach Elliott and Coach Burkhart. But had an incredible year. It was fun to watch them, have such success on the court. And then, of course, we had our last scrimmage games this past Saturday. We went to Combine and went 3-0. Unfortunately, we had 9 players who didn't dress, 7 of which who were injured, and we were able to come out on top against some high-level competition. Caldwell and Combine both have some big-time players, so I was really proud of the guys that stepped up and filled in because we had some big-time players not dressed.
Right. And fill us in on those games. You performed well, win-loss over those 3, and give us a feel for what you saw early in that jamboree.
Well, number one, Najee Stroman was our most consistent player throughout the 3 games the entire day. And he's battling some, injuries, not terrible injuries, but he's kind of beat up a little bit. And then we had some freshmen I thought really stepped up, especially on the defensive end, and that was Aiden Taylor and Kobe Parker. Super proud of those 2 young men. Alex was out there battling. He's been having some hip issues. And everybody who dressed helped us at one point or another throughout the day, but I was really proud of especially those 2 freshmen I mentioned that defensively gave unbelievable energy.
Did you learn anything new that you hadn't seen in practice, like in that live game kind of situation?
Well, number one, we're looking for consistency in terms of effort, consistency in terms of buying into what we're doing. So we had, like I said, Kobe Parker and Aiden Taylor showed us, our staff, a lot about their effort defensively in terms of getting through screens and guarding the ball and, just being tough. Toughness goes a long ways at this level, and I was super proud to see those 2 guys translate to what we're preaching every day into the game. And then our execution in the half court I thought was much better than it has been in the previous jamborees overall. A lot of our sets worked because the players bought into the details.
And this type of multi-game kind of event or jamboree, whatever you want to call it, that's not new. You've done that the past couple of years. But what about that, scheduling that the past couple of years? What's your mindset in, trying to get in that type of environment early?
That's a great question. Obviously, when you play 3 games in a day, it gives the players a lot more opportunity to show not just their teammates, 4-year coaches. That's a big reason why we do it, because a lot of 4-year coaches recruit at jamborees because they can see so many kids in one day at one event. But it gives us as coaches an opportunity to evaluate because a lot of players get a lot of reps. Now, for us this past Saturday, like I said earlier, we only dressed 8 players in 2 of those 3 games and 9 in the last one. Mike Wade, who's been battling some foot issues, dressed for the last one. But unfortunately, we were planning on dressing a lot more than that. But those 8 guys that dressed, I'm super proud of. But again, it was a scrimmage game. We got to keep things in perspective. Mm-hmm. We're 0-0. Our first regular season game is against an opponent that put up 140 points a week and a half ago. So we've got to be humble and hungry and ready to go Saturday afternoon.
Good. So let's talk about the regular season. We'll move forward and talk a little bit about that. You guys are going to open up, like you said, this Saturday, the 4th, on the road, Central Carolina. I think it's a 3 o'clock tip. Tell us a little bit about that, what you expect. We're going to be next Wednesday, the 8th, back on the road again at Gaston College. And then prior to opening up here at home on Saturday, the 11th, against Johnston Community College. So let's talk about Central Carolina. That's the first game.
Yeah, I mean, early on, it's a challenge for the coaches to find film because there's just not a lot of film out there. A lot of coaches don't put scrimmage games on the internet. Fortunately, we were able to find a little bit on Central Carolina. We have not found any on Gaston, our second game of the year. And, of course, Denmark Tech, we haven't gotten any film on them. So in terms of scouting reports, early on, it's very difficult for that reason. I did make the trip to watch Central Carolina last night or 2 nights ago, so I've got a little bit of scouting report on them. They shoot it at a high level. Brad's done a good job of bringing in some athletes. This is their first year in D2, so obviously having scholarship money helps. But they are a much improved team. Obviously, like I said earlier, they put up 140 points a few games ago, so
right.
Clearly they can score it. So we're going to have to really put a lot of pride in the defensive end.
Yeah, and that's been pretty much a staple of your coaching over the many years there. If you look at Johnston Community College, what do you know of anything about them? That's going to be the first home opener, and obviously fans, we want you guys to pack out Brinkley for that first home game. Do we know anything about Johnston early?
I have not seen them.
Okay.
I have not seen any film on them, so that's another one that's going to be a challenge. Hopefully we can get some film on them before the 11th. But we're working hard as coaches to try to find those coaches that have scrimmaged them and are willing to help us with film. But sometimes coaches are not willing to do that, or they didn't film, or maybe they have an agreement with another coach, hey, we're not going to share information. So it can be a challenge, especially early on the first few weeks of the season.
And again, we want to kind of pivot the show a little bit right now. Obviously, you alone can't do all the work of scouting and going out and trying to watch all the film. You got a great staff of assistant coaches helping you out tonight. We get to talk to one of those assistant basketball coaches, Josh Allen. So let's work on getting him up here, get Josh squared away, and give him the mic.
Yeah, I want to say before he gets up here, I'm very blessed to have assistants that work behind the scenes to do, like you said, so many things that helps our program, helps these young men grow, holds them accountable to a high standard. Coach Allen has been here now 6 years. He's the longest tenured assistant I've ever had. I certainly appreciate all that he does in terms of recruiting, taping ankles. Up until this year, he would drive vans to away games. I could keep going on and on. So I really, really appreciate Josh and all of his commitment because at this level, you're not doing it for the money. So, Coach Allen.
Excellent. As we get Coach Allen up here and get his headset on, just a reminder, if you have any comments or questions, put those in on Facebook, and we'll definitely get those into the show.
Adjust that. All right, we're good now.
You good? You ready to go?
Yeah, last time I had a mic, and that was a while ago, so this headset's new. We're good. Yeah,
you got free hands now. You don't have to sit there and hold that thing the whole time.
I don't know what to do with them.
Well, welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself, your background? I know this isn't your first time on the Coach's Show. Got to see you a little bit in the previous years. Where did you play high school ball? What kind of playing, coaching experience? Just kind of give the viewers a little bit inside look into Josh Allen.
All right. I'll streamline this. High school, Western Guilford, post-military coaching. I was at Northern Guilford, High Point Central, 22 Feet Basketball Academy, Legacy Early College, and now I've been here for 6 years.
Excellent.
That's it. That's my
good.
background, man.
That's good. Take us back. When you first got hired here at Davidson-Davie, how did that process go? What attracted you to this program, and what were kind of your expectations, kind of going from what you just talked about to now? Your 6th season here at Davidson-Davie.
I applied for about every position I could at the collegiate level, and Coach Ridge was the first to reach out and give me the opportunity to interview. So that was kind of how that happened. It wasn't like I want to be here. It was I'm a buckshot approach. I'm just firing until I hit something. And Coach Ridge was the first one to interview me, and when they offered me a job, I took it, ran with it, and I've been here ever since. But
as they say, the rest is history, right?
As of now, for right now.
That's good.
But expectations, I didn't really have any expectations coming in. I was just ready to get to work and just kind of see what everything was about. I knew it was a winning program. I knew the kind of coach he was just from the interview and his attention to detail, everything. So I didn't really have any expectations coming in. Sometimes if you have expectations that can lead to disappointment. So I kind of went in with a clear mind, just ready to get to work.
That's excellent. And yeah, either if I'm not doing a volleyball game or doing a coach's show, I've done a few of these now. Coaches always praising players, behind the scene folks. We just talked about it before you came up, right? It's not a one-man show, and he's really good about thanking the community and others that kind of help help a program as successful as this keep going. What's the most important role you see as being an assistant to Coach Ridge? If you're looking at roles and responsibilities, like what is the most important thing for Josh Allen?
I would say the two biggest things are recruiting and player management. There's a lot of things that go on with just relationships with players and managing emotions and managing egos and a lot of stuff that goes on kind of behind the scenes away from Coach Ridge, because there's always got to be those assistants or a team leader or something that's got to talk to players away from the head coach and kind of try to keep those emotions and egos in check and in line. I think player management and then, recruiting is kind of the backbone of this program. We're out on the road a lot. We're watching film. We're contacting coaches. They're contacting us. And as an assistant, we're a little more flexible on where we can go and what we can do, because he doesn't like to miss practice that much, so we can leave and go recruit when, he's running practice. So those two are kind of, I'd say, the biggest roles we have as assistants and impacts we have as assistants.
And Josh, I think you mentioned it. It may have been last year or the year before. I remember watching you on the show. Can you give me an idea? I'm kind of going off script here, so I'm going to throw you a curveball a little bit, so I hope you're okay with that.
100%.
Can you give me an idea, like weekly? If I remember, like it was a crazy amount of time that you were spent on the road, away from Davidson-Davie, out recruiting. Like, how many hours a week or days a week are you on the road recruiting, this type of caliber team that we have this year?
I would say on average 2 nights a week. So it's like when the season gets in, if you take that into account, if you're out 2 nights a week and you play 1 night a week. So if we practice Monday, then maybe I'm recruiting Tuesday, play Wednesday, recruiting Thursday or Friday. Then we have another game Saturday. Thinking 2 to 3 nights a week, you're either out recruiting and or scouting somebody, an opponent. Just like I was out recruiting yesterday. And then tonight's the coach's show. Tomorrow we're going to go scout. Friday practice, Saturday game.
That's a busy week.
Yeah, it stays busy. But this time of year, not so much, because high schools are just starting to practice, starting to get into it. Once the high school season starts going and they start playing games, we're probably 2 to 3 nights a week out at a game recruiting and just watching high school basketball.
So when you're watching high school basketball or any other game where you're recruiting, what characteristics, what specifically are you looking for? What stands out on the court? We may have some high school folks listening to this, right? Or for you, what are you looking for specifically for this program?
Well, I always say when I go recruit, like I don't look for somebody who can play at the collegiate level. I look for somebody who can play for Coach Ridge. There's a difference from being able to play at the collegiate level and play for this program and just the demands that this program asks of you. So a lot of times if we already know the talent's there, if it's a kid we've been recruiting, we know the talent's there. Whenever we go to a game or to practice, we watch everything but their gameplay. Maybe how they react to their coaches. Do they sprint off the floor? Are they dapping up their teammates? How do they react to refs? How do they react to calls? Are they sprinting the floor? Like the little things that talent doesn't really show, like the little characteristics here and there that are translatable to the next level. Because at this level, everybody can dribble, everybody can shoot. There's a lot of athletes, but it's those translatable skills. Are they playing with energy and a motor? Are they, taking plays off? Like how are they other than the, run, dribble, pass, shoot, defend, etc. So I kind of look for along those lines, and then when you have conversations with them, you kind of find out if they really love basketball or if they just like to play. There's a difference within that. So
think you could probably talk 20 minutes on just
on
that one thing,
that
right?
one piece. Yeah, that one piece.
So once you identify that, you see some of those intangibles beyond basketball skill. What's the process then of like developing that relationship and working that recruiting process, I guess, to get them here?
Well, a lot of times most of the time if we have offered a player or if we're interested in a player, we just present to them who we are and what our program is, what our culture is, who we are as coaches, who our team is, who our players are, what we expect. And it's up to them if they want to come or not. We're not begging kids to come. We're not, at their door knocking, saying, please come. We're not desperate. We're going to present to them what we do, who we are, what our culture is, what this program is, and it's on them if they really love it and can, be here and make it here. There's a difference between getting here and making it here.
Right.
So that's really how you build that relationship. You go to games, you go to practice, you talk to them. You might talk to the coach, talk to the parents, invite them up to the school, come see a game, present what we have, and that's it. We're not lying. We're not going to tell kids something we don't do or we do. All this is what we are. This is who we are. It's your decision.
That's good, and that process clearly is working for sure. So don't deviate from that. It's working. It's working pretty well.
Yeah.
Obviously, 6 seasons here at Davidson-Davie. You have been a part of some really great seasons and some really great games. In your time here, can you tell the listeners and everybody listening here in this room what's been some favorite moments or games that you can recall?
Games specifically, say 3 years ago when DJ played, we hit a buzzer beater at Bryant Stratton. Isaiah Pruitt hit a buzzer beater to win that game at Bryant Stratton. We had a comeback from down 8 points with a minute left to go at Lewisburg. Fayetteville Tech was up 14 with a minute 15 left to go. We had that comeback win on Javion hit a buzzer beater. Like game-wise, there's games here and there that we've survived, and you remember those. You remember that feeling. But really, when tournament time comes, playing in the regional tournament, going to the national tournament, playing in those games at that stage, that level, and taking the players we have and the young men we have and giving them a new experience, like those moments that live with you for a while, win, lose, draw, heartbreak, celebration, anything along those lines, you remember those moments.
That's good. And the basketball team here has won 431 games in the last 16 years. That's crazy, averaging 27 wins a season. Doing the quick math there. Since you've been on Coach's staff, what's something about Coach Ridge? What does he do well that helps the team be so successful year after year after year?
The consistent culture. He's very consistent in what he does, what he expects in the culture here at Davidson-Davie. He's not going to deviate too far from anything that he's been successful with way before I was here. So that's probably one of the biggest things, just the consistent culture that we keep here at Davidson-Davie that he implemented, that he started. And I think that's what leads to him being so successful.
Yeah, and I can tell you firsthand, I'm pretty astonished at how he prepares. I'm sitting there during volleyball season calling games, and he's watching, and then when there's a timeout, he's down there. He's already drawing up practice plans.
Yeah,
he may have practice plans, 4
until
5
January.
weeks ahead. I mean, he's very prepared. So, and that certainly helps the preparation and the consistency, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
That's great.
Sir.
Josh, I appreciate you coming up. A quick question, final question for you tonight. This might be a good one. I know it's early. You've seen a jamboree, you've seen practices, but in your mind right now, what is this team that I'm staring at here in this room, what do they need to do to get to the national championship?
Get out of their own way.
Tell me more. What do you mean by that?
I think if anything's going to stop us from getting to the national championship game or even winning this region, it's going to be what they do, not what we do. They have to handle their business off the court. They have to handle their business in the classroom. they have to handle all of that before we can even be successful on the court. So whenever they start taking accountability for themselves and their actions and get out of their own way, we could be really special. But until then, nobody knows.
Got it. Great answer, Josh. Thank you. Let's give him a big hand, Josh. Thanks for being with us tonight. Excellent. We're going to switch gears to have some player interviews now. And, again, going to bring up Frank Stockton. Frank, we'll give you a second to get that headset right. You good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Excellent. Frank, just real quick, I knew you were a red shirt during last year's season.
Yes,
The
sir.
team finished 35-1. Just give me an idea. What factored into your decision to attend here at Davidson-Davie Community College?
Oh, well, this one hit kind of personal on me because Coach Ridge hit me up at a time in my life that I was not mentally stable, and he hit me up, asked me to come back to Davidson, and I did. He had called me during September and told me to come back in November during this time last year, and told me to come back, and I was on straighter line, and I got that done. And I was really supposed to play with them boys, the 35-1 team.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, that was really it.
What'd you learn last season? What's some of the biggest lessons you learned while being redshirted on that team last year?
Where I redshirted,
Yes.
what I really learned is to be more consistent overall, not just on the court, off the court things. What else I learned? I learned how to be more poised on the court because that 35-1 team was down a lot of games and clutch moments, and they did whatever to come back and win. So, yeah, that's what I learned.
And so if you look at this year's team, Frank, what strengths are you bringing to this team this year? What's a couple of strengths you think that stand out that what Frank Stockton brings to Davidson-Davie basketball?
My biggest strengths to Davidson-Davie basketball is rebounding, getting out and denying, and finishing. I feel like if I do that on a high level, we would go far just off me just denying, playing defense, and just bringing in energy towards the team.
What's it like daily, weekly playing for Coach Ridge?
Daily, weekly playing for Coach Ridge, it's not for everybody. It's a grind, a day in, day out grind. We practice hard every day. I mean, yeah, you got to be ready to get out there playing with Coach. Practice is harder than games. That's why I be trying to tell the freshmen, practice is going to be way harder than games. Once we get in games, it's going to be easy because the way Coach Ridge just have us practice is just it's live.
Yeah, and you mentioned it a little bit in your opening comment, but your relationship with Coach Ridge, obviously he reached out to you, come to this program. Tell us a little bit more about that relationship you and Coach have.
Yeah, me and Coach, I respect him every time, and it's yes sir, no sir thing. I mean, he loved my abilities and just the person I am, and I just have the most respect for Coach ever because I never have got coached like this ever. So Coach is just one of the best coaches.
And again, if you look at the team where you're at, you've seen 3 games during the Jamboree. What's a couple of things you think this team needs to improve on? You've talked about your individual, denying on defense, really closing out, finishing points. But overall for the team, what's some things they need to improve on?
I feel like since we not the biggest team, we do got height, but we not the biggest team. So I feel like we need to box out and rebound and stop the ball by the volleyball line way more and put pressure on the 1 and 2 guards on the other team. I feel like we need to knock down free throws too. Yeah, that too. We need to knock down free throws and hit open shots. Yeah, that's what I feel like.
That's just basically everything about the basketball
Yes,
game,
sir.
right? I like
Yes,
it.
sir.
And Frank, what's your goals after Davidson-Davie? So when you finish here, what's some of your goals? What you want to accomplish?
My goal is to hopefully have a 3.5 or over in my GPA and attend a 4-year, maybe D1, D2.
Excellent. And do you have a nickname? I know a lot of guys, coaches shows I've been on before, they throw out nicknames. Do you have a nickname?
Yeah, well, Coach Ridge, they be calling me Air Stockton.
Air Stockton.
Yes, sir.
And why is that?
My leaping ability, I can jump out the gym.
And yeah, I've heard some rumors. I actually heard a few stories about your jumping ability. Where do you get that from?
Where did I get that from? All I can say is from God. God, that's a God-given ability. My dad was not no big jumper for real. He was a shooter. My mom never played sports, so I guess just.
But can she jump though? Your mom can jump?
No, sir.
She
sir.
can't. Okay, got it. Sorry, Mom. We had to get that one in there. So how high can you jump? Have you measured it?
No, I never measured
Okay.
it, but I probably can get 43, 44, 45, right?
Oh, 45? Okay, we may need to measure that at some point. So, hey, Frank, I appreciate you coming up. Let's give Frank a big hand. We're going to switch over to oh, yeah. Yeah, I think we'll definitely have to measure Frank Stockton's leaping ability. All right, switching gears here to Mr. Aiden Taylor.
Yeah.
Aiden, how are you?
I'm good. How
You
are
ready
you?
for this?
Yeah.
Good. Aiden's a freshman on the team this year from Princeton High School. Aiden, you had an outstanding high school career. 26.9 points, 4.4 assists, 9.8 rebounds per game. That's pretty solid senior season there. Aiden, I know I was watching some of the preseason videos, even some on Patrick's podcast, of you and your brother Jaheim doing some one-on-one playing, so I got to see you play there. You're very skilled. You definitely can close out, dribble either way, which is nice to see. And again, your brother Jaheim, who was very successful here and playing for Lenore Rhineland, which is really good. Aiden, what was some of the main reasons why you chose Davidson-Davie?
One of the reasons is that they're a winning program. I really wanted to go to a school that was a winning program. And another is that my brother Jaheim, he got really better here for the last 2 years.
Yeah, you got to see that firsthand, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And again, same question I asked Frank. What are your thoughts about this year's team? What are you seeing? You've been on basketball teams before, I'm sure, high school, AAU kind of teams. But what do you see about this team? What's some of your thoughts?
We're really talented. I feel like if we can get our own way, we can really win it all this year.
And again, I've seen some of your film, watching you play. But what are the strengths that you bring to this team? As a 6'2" guard, you could probably play pretty much any position probably. What's your strengths you're bringing to the team this year?
My main strength is playing defense.
Okay.
Yeah, so I got to pick up 94 feet and lock up. My other is shooting. I feel like I can really knock down shots.
How many shots are you getting up a day in practice and outside of practice?
I don't know, like 500 or more.
500 or more?
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good amount. Well, what's the goal? Maybe 1,000 or more?
Yeah, I get that some days, but not
Okay.
every day.
Got it. Tell me a little bit about your relationship with Coach Ridge, like how you got to know him. As you saw a little bit from your brother being here at the program, but tell me more about you and Coach Ridge.
I feel like we have a good relationship. He's really passionate and like really pushes me to do better.
Well, why do you think he does that?
I don't know. I mean, he believes in me.
Yeah, I think he definitely believes in you. He probably sees something that he's trying to bring out for sure. For you personally, you mentioned defense, picking up 94 feet, but what's some of your personal and team goals for this year?
I don't really have any personal goals this year.
What about for the team? What would you like to see this team do?
Win a national championship.
I like it.
That's the only goal.
And I'll ask the same question. So we had Air Stockton up here just a few minutes ago. What's your nickname? Do you have a nickname?
Nah, I don't have a nickname.
No nicknames?
Nah.
All right, well, let's. I'm looking at the team out here. Let's. That's your homework for this week. We need a nickname for Aiden Taylor for sure. And again, if you think about the 3 games during the Jamboree, what's the biggest difference from what you saw playing those versus your senior year of high school?
People are just more athletic, a lot taller people. More.
Is the game faster or is it pretty similar?
It's faster.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your garden, typically guys your size or bigger now at this level.
Yeah.
Got it. And last question for you. This is a good one. Do you have any pregame rituals or things you do to get ready for game day?
Nah, I really don't do anything for real.
You don't prepare at all for no,
I might meditate.
like certain socks or nothing like that? So you meditate before the game?
Yeah.
So you don't want any of these guys bothering you before tip-off?
Nah.
Got it.
I get my own space.
That's good. Aiden, hope you have a great season. I know you're super talented. You got a lot to bring to the team, so thanks for coming up tonight. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, those are great young men, very well spoken, and I'm excited to see what they're going to do this year for sure.
I had to remind Aiden why I coach him so hard. I think he knew he just froze up.
Yeah.
Trying to bring the best out of you.
Yeah, he knew the answer to that one.
Now, I'm going to go off script if that's okay with you. Because we got one of our super fans in the house tonight.
You going off script?
I'm going to go off script.
This is a first.
And I'm going to bring up somebody
Okay.
that has been incredibly loyal to this program for a long time. I'm not sure if his beard is longer than Coach Allen's, but we might need to measure that. He comes to every home game. He's relentless on the officials and sometimes our opponents, players. He's a great friend of mine. So, Mr. Caleb Curry, can you come up, please? Come on up. Give it up for Caleb Curry.
Super fan Caleb Curry going off script here. Caleb, have a seat. We'll give you some time to get situated there. I think Matt just wasn't prepared to go to the next segment, so he just had to
Probably
call
what
an
it was.
audible and get you up here.
Probably.
How do you know Coach Ridge?
Man, I've been coming with my brother-in-law who does the stats. I guess we've been coming, I don't know, 13, 14 years maybe.
14 of his 16 years. That's pretty phenomenal.
And we just, we left basketball and started coming, watching them. He was a great coach and always fun to watch. You know, they always put up a bunch of points, and one thing led to another. Manuel started doing stats, and I'm still here.
That's great.
So,
Yeah, I started doing some of the announcing for volleyball, which then transitioned to sticking around and watching a couple of games. I'm telling you, Saturday or even a midweek game at Brinkley, there's nothing like it. I mean,
yeah.
and I'm 12 minutes from here and had no idea this level of basketball was being played right here in our back door. So I just encourage folks like yourself that just, come and watch a game. It's high level, it's fast paced, it's exciting. Certainly got you intrigued, and now 14 years later, you're still watching. So do you go to away games as well?
Some of them.
Okay.
We definitely try to go to, the tournaments. I've been to, I think, 4 of the national tournaments. So
you make the trip to Danville.
been to New York and been to Danville 3 times.
That's commitment.
Yeah. So we enjoy it. My wife enjoys it. My son loves coming. So
It's a whole family deal.
right.
That's great. That's great. Well, I appreciate you coming up and being put on the spot. Let's give Caleb a huge hand. Thank you.
Quick story about Caleb. I think it was, fourth or fifth year of the program. We're playing in the district championship game in Maryland. And it's a close game, late in the game, and Maurice Nash got a breakaway dunk to put us up 3 with less than 10 seconds to go, and their student body had been heckling our fan base, but especially Stormy the cat, our mascot, who had traveled to the game. And some of their students came out of the stands and literally physically attacked our mascot. And Mr. Caleb Curry came out of the stands to defend our mascot, and they ended up literally outside of the gym wrestling. So when I say the man supports us, it's physically, emotionally, his whole heart and his whole family, is in this program. And when we say we're a family, we really mean it. And he's just, and his family is one example of that. So.
Yeah, and that's I'm glad you brought him up there. And again, highly encourage folks, come to a game this year. Check out the schedule, look at the website, and make it a point to be here at Brinkley. It's quite the experience for sure.
And Caleb's gone recruiting with me. I mean, so he is a good friend of mine. He helps us in numerous ways. Obviously, game day creating a buzz in Brinkley, but it's more than that. I mean, He gets to know our players, and so I would encourage our local community to come out and get to know the guys in our program.
Yeah, and speaking of family, obviously there's I can think of a lot of guys that I've watched over the years, and why don't you just take us through some of the former players, kind of where they currently are, playing at four-year schools, and give us an idea of where they're at and kind of what they're up against in their seasons this year.
Well, I was counting up earlier today. I think we have 9 currently playing at four-year schools. Javion Jones is Cataba's best player. He was MVP of their not just team. He was newcomer of the year in the entire SAC last year, every sport. So he's excelling at such a high level, which isn't surprising. L.J. Rogers is one of the best players at Leeds McRae, which I think they have a game tonight. Zy Dawkins was the best player last year as a junior at Converse, started, led them in a lot of different categories. Tim Boulware is one of the best players at Greensboro College. And then from last year's team, we have Jaheim and Chase both playing at Lenore Ryan, who last night played a high major Division I team on the road, University of Tennessee. So I'm sure even though they didn't get it done, it was a neat experience to get to play such a high-level game. And then Keith Reese Jr. and Aaron Ross is at Shawan playing, and both are doing very well. And then Jonathan Faust is playing for a former assistant who coached with me years ago in Dillon Hall at Lynchburg University. So got 9 guys playing at a lot of different places on scholarships. We also have players playing professionally overseas. Kyle Ridley, Sadiq Bello. We've had a ton of other former players who've gone on after playing at a 4-year to play professionally.
Yeah, and I think it's really good too. Miles and Kevin do a good job through the season during the live stream, keeping us up to date on the stats of these guys you just mentioned. So if you listen into the games, listen to the live stream, you'll hear Miles and Kevin really keeping us, the whole DDCC family, up to date on how former players are doing, so which I think is really good.
And that goes back to what you said earlier about, we have people like yourself and Miles and Kip that put hours of work before the game even starts in preparation of knowing our opponent, doing research on former players that are for your schools. So when that ball goes up, they are prepared to talk. So, inform our listeners online about where our former players are doing, or maybe about our opponents. So I appreciate all the hard work behind the scenes that people like yourself do, and Miles and Kip.
Yeah, a slightly different question for you here. We'll switch. You've been obviously coaching for, I just read this, almost 30 years. Just let that sink in for a little bit, as you just did.
Well, I turned the big 5-0 in January, and my kids remind me of that all
there
the
you
time.
go.
So.
And again, 16-plus seasons here now for Davidson-Davie. What's life like juggling really 2 full-time jobs, math teaching and also coaching?
So for 14 years, I taught Southwest Guilford High School math while I was, traveling here to be the head coach. It was a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You get up early. I did not have a planning period because my former boss allowed me to have 4th period planning, and I could leave during my planning to come here. And the reason he allowed me to do that was so I could get through practice, so I could get on the road and recruit. So I was very blessed to have a principal that allowed me to do that. So I had no planning period. So my planning period started around 6:30, 6:45 when I got to school before school started at 8 a.m. Did that for 13 of those 14 years. My last year I did not have 4th period planning, which made it more challenging because practice started later. But, You know, I would literally, and I don't recommend this to anyone who's listening, but literally, you know, I would be wearing khakis and a collared shirt or a button-up to teach in, and, you know, that's not exactly what I usually wear in practice. So when I got here, we needed to start practice quickly so we could get through practice so I could get on the road and recruit. So I literally would change in the car from my work clothes to the sweats I would wear for practice. And then, you know, practices, depending on the time of year, would go anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, and then we would leave immediately most nights that we don't play and go and recruit. 2 of the years, as my wife will tell you, I was getting my master's online in addition to basically working 2 full-time jobs. We had 2 daughters, and my wife was pregnant with our third. Don't recommend that, you know, because when I'd get home at 10, 11.
That's a full schedule.
10, 11 night from recruiting after everything, I would have to get online and do my homework. But I got through it and got my master's. So.
Yeah, those are short-term sacrifices for long-term gains, right? And so you can a lot of people can weather some hard stuff short-term, and that just shows you were able to do that in that short amount of time.
Well, we tell our players we expect them to be disciplined, self-disciplined, and I wouldn't tell them to do anything that I shouldn't expect myself to do. And I think that's one reason our players allow and embrace how hard we coach them, because they know how hard my staff and I work. You know, we're not asking them to do something that we're not willing to do. That's
good. And again, looking forward to the upcoming game this weekend. But before we wrap the show up, I'd like to pause and give you an opportunity. Is there, for Storm fans out there listening, folks that may watch this later, is there any specific needs that the program has this year that you would like to just kind of talk about now and just so folks know?
Well, like you said, number one, come out and just watch the games, not just in Brinkley, but this Saturday, an hour and some change down the road in Sanford, 3 o'clock. Want to see a lot of Storm blue in the stands, but certainly the home games. But in terms of our needs of the program, you know, we're always having to raise money for athletic scholarships in years in advance, because if we don't know what we have November the 1st, which is today, when we can officially start signing guys to a letter of intents for the next year, if we don't know what we got, then we can't offer something we don't have. So we have to always raise money at least 1 year in advance, or we don't know what we have to offer. So we're always constantly trying to find new donors to consider giving for athletic scholarships. But we obviously have a lot more needs than that. With us traveling and doing what we're doing in the preseason, we're having to raise money for hotels and meals and that sort of thing. And obviously we have some overnights during the year. But again, as the athletic director here, I'm going to talk not just as the basketball coach for a minute. You know, if we ever do decide to start other sports, you know, we're going to have to raise quite a bit of money. Some people may not know this. I try to educate as many people as possible, but in junior college in North Carolina, we're not allowed to use any state money, so we have to generate a lot of revenue to fund other programs if we're going to ever, you know, start other programs. And so as the athletic director, at some point down the road when the time is right, we would like to do that. I would like to do that as the athletic director here. So if anyone wants to get involved with our hierarchy of sponsorship, all they got to do is give me a call.
Excellent. That's wonderful. And again, I just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. Matt, thank you. Thank assistant coach Josh Allen, Air Stockton, and Aiden Taylor. Thank them for interviewing up here tonight, and certainly for Caleb Curry, impromptu stage time. I'm guessing he's probably going to be there this weekend at the Central Carolina game. Am I putting him on the spot?
He better be. He's shaking his head. Yes.
There's a head nod. I think he's going to be there at 3 o'clock. Just looking over our Facebook feed, hey, Miles Poole is watching us right now from Florida.
He's probably on Space Mountain in Magic Kingdom. Right?
He probably is. He says, great job, Aiden, Frank, Josh, and, of course, Dan. Go Storm. Miles, hope you're having a great time in Florida. Thank you, everybody, for listening tonight. Again, the next show is going to be Thursday, November 16th. You're going to have 4 games under your belt before that next coach's show. So I'm looking forward to that next show and hearing how the first 4 games go. Any closing comments?
Yeah, 2 more things. One,
sure.
We're truly a family here. So if you folks, I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, But one of our players, DJ Suggs' aunt, passed away recently, so if our listeners would keep DJ and his family in their prayers, we would greatly appreciate that. And secondly, there's some other people in the house tonight, obviously Caleb, but Manuel, the best statistician in all of Juco, and his wife, and Mr. Tim Gwillem just walked in, one of the deans here at the college. He has driven us a lot of miles. He drove us last year to Danville, all the way across the country. So here recently he's driven us to some jamborees. It's people like them behind the scenes that make us the family that we are. And I want to thank you again, because we wouldn't have been able to do this tonight with Miles being, in Disney World without you. So thank you.
You're welcome. I appreciate it. And again, look forward to the next Coaches Show, November 16th.
Yes, sir.
We're going to sign out. You guys have a great night. Thanks.